Le marché de l'expertise et de la consultation numérique. Je parle de tout ce qui est talent, je parle de tout ce qui est coaching, je parle de tout ce qui est freelance, je parle de tout ce qui est expertise, voilà, vous comprenez, expertise en ligne, etc., a augmenté significativement au cours des dernières années. Donc en 2019, écoutez bien, c'est 44 milliards de dollars. Je ne sais pas si vous comprenez un peu. Et 2019, justement, c'est la période encore pré-Covid. Et on sait très bien que la période 2020 et 2021, qui est la période de Covid, a fait exploser encore plus ces chiffres-là, justement, parce que la demande numérique a augmenté, ça a facilité plus le travail à distance, etc. Donc, lorsqu'on regarde encore les chiffres, effectivement, la croissance annuelle composée par rapport toujours à 2019 est de 11,8% cette année-là. Et si je prends juste l'industrie du coaching, aux États-Unis en 2019, on est à 2,85 milliards de dollars. Je sais pas si vous comprenez. Seulement aux États-Unis, juste le coaching en ligne, 3 milliards par an. Et globalement, c'est 15,7 milliards sur la planète. Alors, ce qui va nous intéresser à la fin, c'est quoi? C'est le business. Le business d'externalisation de travail. C'est-à-dire quoi? Le freelance globalement, ce que les gens appellent aujourd'hui freelance. Donc, si on prend par exemple l'Asie, on a 2 pays qui sont en top, notamment l'Inde et la Philippines. Et chacun de ces pays, tenez-vous tranquille, fait minimum 1 milliard par an. Ok? Ça, c'est la période pré-Covid. Moi, je suis encore sur la période pré-Covid parce qu'on a des chiffres vrais qui ont été estimés, calculés, etc. Donc, l'Inde avait déjà une croissance. Tout le monde sait bien que l'Inde, voilà, les gens externalisent du travail en Inde. Mais, chose incroyable, c'est qu'on se rend compte qu'en 2023, l'Afrique est en train de prendre la même tournure que l'Inde a pris il y a quelques années. Ok? C'est une tournure exponentielle. Donc, l'Afrique se met sur le marché de l'externalisation du travail numérique. Très, très intéressant. Et on commence donc à voir quoi? Plusieurs entreprises qui vont arriver en Afrique, qui vont se positionner justement sur ce marché. Et à chaque fois, je me demande où sont les Africains. Je vais citer une des entreprises qui me paye pas forcément, donc c'est pas de la pub. Je connais plusieurs de ces entreprises parce que je vous ai dit, c'est quelque chose que je scrute particulièrement. Alors, l'une de ces entreprises là, c'est Turing. Juste pour vous permettre de comprendre un peu le contexte de la vidéo, voilà. Turing, qui, voilà, entre 2021 et 2022, arrive en Afrique en force. Alors, pourquoi c'est important? Pourquoi j'ai décrit tout ça? Parce que si tu es un expert en informatique, tu es en Afrique, tu penses à quoi? Tu penses à voyager. Tu penses à aller en Occident, tu penses à aller en Europe, etc. pour pouvoir, voilà, gagner plus. Donc, ce qui se passe, c'est que ça s'est passé pendant beaucoup d'années, voilà, ça continue. Il y a une vague d'experts qui quittent le continent, etc. Maintenant, la véritable question, c'est est-ce que tout le monde va quitter l'Afrique pour aller en Occident travailler? C'est ça la véritable question. Parce que on constate très souvent que une fois en Europe, les salaires que on perçoit en Europe, très souvent n'est même pas suffisant déjà pour le niveau de vie. C'est vrai qu'en étant en Afrique, les salaires sont gros, mais une fois sur place, vous changez de contexte, vous êtes dans un nouveau pays et le salaire que vous percevez ne vous permet même pas de louer un appartement, ok? Si le même ingénieur reste en Afrique et perçoit le même salaire, ok? C'est un ingénieur épanoui. Quand on va changer la monnaie et tout ça, ça a beaucoup plus de sens. Ça a beaucoup plus de valeur. C'est quelqu'un qui peut s'acheter une voiture, qui peut avoir une villa en Afrique, etc., qui peut bien réussir sa vie. Donc, il est donc question aujourd'hui, voilà, avec ces pays, l'Occident, tout le monde, qui a une demande numérique beaucoup plus importante aujourd'hui parce qu'on a la demande numérique qui explose. On veut de plus en plus développer des logiciels avec l'intelligence artificielle qui a apparu récemment et tout. Donc, on a de plus en plus besoin d'experts. Contrairement à ceux qui pensaient que le métier de développeur allait disparaître, mais c'est le contraire. On est en train de voir l'inverse. Donc, on a de plus en plus besoin d'expertise digitale. Et vu qu'on a besoin d'expertise digitale et vu qu'en même temps, on ne peut pas faire immigrer tout le monde en Occident parce que déjà, c'est problématique aussi pour ces pays-là. Et c'est aussi problématique pour nous parce que tous les talents quittent leur pays pour aller à l'étranger et du coup ne font pas de valeur ajoutée pour leur pays. Donc l'idée c'est d'externaliser en fait un ensemble de services numériques directement sur le continent. Tenez-vous tranquille, ces entreprises que j'ai citées ont commencé déjà à le faire. Pour ce podcast, je suis allé en Allemagne au cœur d'une de ces entreprises qui a commencé à externaliser des choses au Cameroun, qui s'est installé au Cameroun comme principal pays et qui a l'intention de s'installer dans plusieurs autres pays en Afrique pour discuter justement de ces opportunités-là, pour discuter sur comment est-ce que ce business se passe, comment est-ce qu'ils comprennent le marché africain, comment est-ce qu'ils ont pu mettre sur pied, est-ce qu'il y a des problèmes de régulation, est-ce qu'il y a des problèmes de protection de données, bien sûr parce qu'il y en a, comment est-ce qu'ils arrivent à résoudre tous ces problèmes pour pouvoir externaliser du travail en Afrique. Je vous encourage à regarder cette vidéo jusqu'à la fin si vous êtes intéressé jusque-là par ce sujet et comprendre surtout, c'est le business, comprendre surtout quels sont les problèmes qu'ils rencontrent et comment ils essayent au maximum qu'ils peuvent pour pouvoir résoudre ces problèmes-là. Je vous souhaite un excellent visionnage. N'hésitez pas de rebondir en commentaire si vous avez des questions, des préoccupations par rapport à ce sujet parce que moi je trouve que c'est un sujet chaud tout simplement. Donc n'hésitez pas de rebondir en commentaire et de me poser vos préoccupations pour que j'aille creuser beaucoup plus en profondeur encore sur ces opportunités-là. On se dit à tout à l'heure. Bienvenue à tous, bienvenue dans cette nouvelle vidéo. Je suis avec Léo. On aura l'occasion de parler. Léo, c'est un cofondateur, businessman dans Camsol qui va présenter son business aujourd'hui. Je l'accueille sur la chaîne parce que c'est quelqu'un d'exceptionnel. Je suis actuellement à Berlin, en Allemagne, avec Léo. Et voilà, Léo va se présenter. On aura quand même quelques questions assez intéressantes sur des business assez particuliers, notamment sur le développement et comment est-ce qu'on peut externaliser les marchés aujourd'hui en Afrique. So, what's up, Leo?
What's up? Nice having me.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for your answer for this podcast I'm doing. This is probably the second podcast I'm doing in English. Most part of time I do it in French. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for providing the chance and
thank you, man.
And having the chat. Looking forward to.
Okay, man. So for people who don't know you on my community, my audience, can you present yourself like globally, your background and what you do actually? So can you do a little presentation for people who don't know you?
Of course. So I started, I think, setting up my own e-commerce store like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
That was the first touch point I had with tech, if you like, even though it wasn't tech properly, it was rather WordPress and WooCommerce setup. So rather configurations of content management system instead of like tech. And then I really enjoyed that because I always wanted to be independent and starting up my own thing. Now I did that 9 years ago. Ever since, always continued doing so, evolving on the topics, starting in e-commerce, then going into platform economy. Co-founded a startup in the platform economy with two friends, where we also received our first investment. So I always had an ambition and in product development and starting up, and a huge passion in design. Actually, I was always the one doing the concepts, doing the web design, etc. And then I specialized in UX UI at a later stage, and then just a year ago also got hired by the German saving banks to like do a beyond banking startup with them together. So I also gained some experience within the corporate environment besides the startup environment. But then after realizing how traditional corporate environments are and how occasionally not flexible they are, and like how stiff everything is, I really appreciated the startup environment. So I started up my own thing again once more, and second time, well actually I think it was even the third or fourth time back then. But then I got to meet Tobias as well from Camsol. Okay. One of the initiators of Camsol as well, our CTO as well, and then we got along very well. I got to know him because I was looking for a CTO for my startup as well. He offered the service, but well, then we got along quite well, and really loved the visions that we both had, and shared a huge common denominator. And now we're doing Camsol and striving for success and thriving for success in Camsol, and actually trying to like fulfill the vision of empowering people through technology by collaborating with institutions, assessing talents, training talents, and helping their startups to grow, and also helping other startups and tech projects to scale and succeed.
Before coming to the goal or the objectives of Camsol, there is something that we need to clarify, is that you didn't go to a IT school. You don't have your base is not IT.
No, not at all. That's not at all, if you like. Yeah, so like I also studied for quite some time, but always in the business administration part. I think because I never really knew what to do in the beginning, And then by starting up my own things, I got in touch with
technology,
tech, etc. Right, and then simply self-learning a lot of time and training on the jobs, and then gaining experiences, and now constantly, of course, trying to evolve my skills as well. But rather on the design part as well, right? So like I'm no full stack guy or whatever. I'd like to become sometime eventually, let's see, but my passion is certainly design.
Great. So can we talk now about Council a little bit? Can you describe what is Council? What do you intend to do with Council? We met in a context where I was in Cameroon, and I met a guy who put us in contact, and today I know that Council is also a Cameroonian company.
It is definitely. We have a German entity, and we have a Cameroonian entity. In Germany, we have the Council Innovations GmbH. It's called basically a limited, and then we have the Council Technologies Limited in Cameroon, the first country we are in. Council itself started of a social project actually, but before I tell you about what Council actually is, maybe let me tell you what Council is not, because a lot of people think we are certain, but we're actually not, because when people are hearing that we're doing tech and that we're working with international talents from Africa as well, a lot of people, the second thought is always like, okay, you guys are offshoring. You're just getting expensive projects over here, right? And then paying cheap salaries, and then you're exploiting in the end. But that's not what we do. We don't like to have second brain drain India, right? We actually like to develop careers, develop talents, and care about the community, rather than about, of course we are, rather than maximizing profits only, which is why we like to call ourselves like social businesses, right? We also don't pay ourselves like huge salaries. We have salaries that are, well, not really above average, honestly speaking, right? We are founders as well, but we are managing, but we also like really to invest into the company and to the people behind. It all started off with a social project, because one of our initiators, he's got a Cameroonian step sister actually, which is why we got in touch with Cameroon in the first place ages ago. 2017 it was. They started off a social charity project, realizing that charity isn't really the good thing actually. Well, to some extent it is, but you're making people more dependent, right? And we like to make people independent and autonomous and self-sufficient. So they did another project involving tech, and enabling people, training people on tech, providing hardware, and having a project where people could enable and train on the job, and thereby they realized, okay, enabling in tech and providing infrastructure and tech, opportunities in tech can really scale opportunities, can really scale careers as well, in the long run. So they said, wow, looking at numbers, for example, in Cameroon, we have thousands of people, of students starting IT or engineering studies every year, thousands, tens, like even I think it's around 80,000 if I'm not mistaken a year, I don't know, but plenty. It's crazy. At the same time, you have 90% of youth unemployment within that age range as well, and that's crazy. So you have a lot of talents, you have a lot of potential, and a lot of skills as well, and a lot of ambition. The ambitions are crazy,
and if you don't do something, those people are jobless.
And that's the point. And on the other hand, people are talking in Germany and Europe that are talking about the talent gap and about the need of experts, etc. But nobody really cares about sustainable bridging between, for example, Cameroon in this case and Germany. And that's where we thought, okay, we jump in. So we talked to universities. We talked to the University of Buea. Now a second country in Rwanda we are talking to. We are talking to the Carnegie Mellon University, the CMU Africa, it's called. And now we're talking to universities to offer the internships, to offer training on the job, and thereby enable people, because we're doing training on the job. We have our own learn management system, providing an environment actually to develop in, and gain experience within the sales space. And then we are staffing projects, and providing innovation in the end, right? And doing scalable projects, scalable tech projects. On the one hand for clients, so we have, for example, German corporates as clients that are hiring us to do these innovational projects.
specific, let's say, specific challenge or specific jobs?
Like a challenge, for example, right?
Yeah.
So a business development entity within a corporate could say, hey, we got this new area to look into, but we don't know what innovation to place on the market. So help us develop an innovation, develop the tech, and actually go to market and achieve proof of concepts. And we are basically a company builder doing all of that. Now we don't only do that for corporates, and we always do that with the teams of our talents, right? And thereby offer the practical experience, but we also do that for our talents themselves. So if you have a startup idea, you can simply approach us and be like, hey, that's what I'm thinking, or you already have a startup, you can also approach us, and then we are looking at investment opportunity eventually, but that's one of the last steps actually, before we look at how to achieve proof of concepts, how to actually get track records, right, and the user base, so you actually can also go to investors and justify your case. So we're really helping to succeed or trying to support in succeeding these startups in the end and company building processes.
Cool.
But not only in Europe for corporates, but also for talents all over, basically within the global south. Right, because one of our key criteria actually for the countries we are working with is the social sustainability. So we are looking always at the GDP per person, right? And if that's below a certain range for a country, we know, okay, that's a country we can go into because we have a lot of probably unemployment, a huge unemployment rate, etc. Eventually engineers, but no opportunities. So that these are also the criteria of social sustainability we are looking at to decide.
Because it's very related with the question that I wanted to ask you, like how did you identify Cameroon as a market for externalizing jobs, IT jobs, with some criteria about sustainability and GDP per person, yeah. Definitely. Apart from that, is there anything else?
So like I said in the beginning, there was rather something personal, right? Because we had the stepdaughter, the stepsister, basically from Cameroon. So certainly like a personal approach in the beginning. But then looking at the economic status, if you like, realizing that we have a very lower economically developed country, right, and thereby also deriving the criteria of social sustainability, saying, all right, we don't like to go to the US, right, because the talents have all the opportunities you want, right? We like to go to places where we have talents with no opportunities, and how do we identify that? By
I want to ask
one
you a
of
question.
The factors.
Maybe that is very fun. Why not maybe India or Pakistan or those countries like that?
So that's a good question. I mean, India, on the one hand, of course, it's the personal contact. India, I think, is already, well, let's not say burnt out, but there's a lot of development that's needed. But I think the India case, how shall I say? There's already a lot of competition. There are a lot of companies already
doing same thing.
Well, not same thing as well, because there are really like a lot of countries working in India. They're doing offshoring, classical, and that's not what we like to do. And I feel like the competition is, well, honestly speaking, we also have no touch point with India at this stage, right? Maybe if there is the opportunity, because I'm very sure we are matching criteria here. Maybe there's an opportunity to look into, but I think, well, it was just a coincidence, to be honest, in the beginning that we had the touch point with Cameroon.
Human also.
It's the personal approach that we had in the beginning. But actually, we're talking to Pakistan. We're talking to the Mongolai. We're talking to various countries, actually. But we like to focus on Cameroon first because we achieved our proof of market there. We achieved our first company there. And now we like to expand to countries that are not too far away yet, right? Yeah, certainly.
Okay. The second question will be, what are the main cultural or professional differences between Germany and Cameroon that you had to consider?
Honestly speaking, punctuality. So, well, sorry to be that honest, right? And well, the Camps Alliance that know me and that may see this, I don't know. They know that I am also late occasionally to meetings, at least 5 minutes sometimes, right? But from the experience I had in Cameroon when being out with the teams and meeting friends, etc., then like you said like you're gonna meet at 6.
Yeah.
At 6 you were like, you got a notification, well, it's probably gonna be 7.
7, yeah.
At 7, like nobody was there, and, well, probably it's gonna be 8, right? But there was no hustle, right? It wasn't like even an issue, because the friend just arrived, and he was like, he pretended as if nothing happened. And in Germany, if you arrive 2 hours late, man, like I don't even know if the person will still be there, right? Or if you're still gonna meet. And now if you transfer that to the project cases, where you have clients awaiting team leads eventually arriving for a meeting and stuff, so we had a lot of management to be done in order to make everyone understand that we have to take care. So that was one thing, but otherwise, I mean, of course, there are a lot of, like, the food is different, of course, so of course we have differences, but yeah, I think that was the main issue, if I would call it, that we also overcome to some extent.
Yeah, I think what you just noticed is right. Punctuality. We live a lot with French people, and that's like an heritage from French people. German people are very punctual. That's something that I noticed. I work with companies here, being in Cameroon remotely, and man, they don't play with time. Like if we say it's 5, it's 5.
Exactly, on point. Yeah. And if you're 5 minutes late, it's already kind of rude. Right?
And this is a challenge. It's Cameroon also, but not Cameroon only.
No, I believe
you face that in the.
I believe
most part of time, many countries in the Africa, and also, so I think it's mostly when people are not very engaged, they can do that also. How do you manage the challenges related to salary payment for outsourced employees in Cameroon?
That's a huge thing, because there are a lot of regulations making our life very, very difficult.
Very difficult, yeah.
Because you, as a German company, first of all, cannot hire a Cameroonian that's living in Cameroon. Just like that. Yeah. So you can also not, as a German company, transfer a salary to a Cameroonian employee, because there's simply no, well, from our experience, there's no like law that's defining such a case yet, right? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So we have had various approaches. In the beginning, we always used MoneyGram to transfer to mobile money, because that was the only way how people could receive money, because nobody trusted in the bank. People were always like, okay, if you're gonna pay the money to my bank, like I'm not gonna see it, so like give it to my mobile phone, like I want to receive mobile money. So like in the beginning we started with like 5 people. We grew very fast, so occasionally we had like I think up to 80 people, 90 people, and then sometimes we had to do all these MoneyGram transfers individually, right? It's always one by one by one. And then doing that for 80 people took like quite some time. So that was a hustle. And then we managed to establish a model with a bank in the UK actually, helping us to set up a model where we could transfer the money faster. But then the BaFin, so the German banking regulation, had an eye on us, because we always transferred a huge amount of salaries every month. And actually, there are some risk regulations in Germany when you transfer, even though the Cameroonian IBAN, the banking, your account numbers are in our match with our system, with the IBAN system, so they should be valid. But they're detected as fraud. So like if we transfer money to Cameroon bank accounts, like our bank, like we had the issues that our banks were closing the transfer, or like canceling, not letting the transfer through, because they were according to their risk indicators saying it's fraud. It's fraud, right? So like we had quite a few issues talking to the managing the regulations in the end, and now we found our way around that to but it took quite some time. It took actually months to establish something, and it's still not always going smoothly, because it's a lot of salaries we are transferring, but we're managing, right?
When you need to transfer let's say 10k every month to Cameroon, can be
Yeah, and it's more.
They definitely
it's more.
to have an eye on.
Yeah.
And it's more.
Yeah.
See, there, most part of the time in the continent, people use mobile money than bank.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's another point. So when you send through the bank, people generally they don't want to deal with the bank.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's definitely an issue.
What measure have you put in place to ensure the protection of sensitive data in an international context?
Well, I honestly speaking, I'm the wrong one. I'm the wrong one.
Every time I speak with a German company, it's always how
about
do you deal with data protection?
Totally.
It's always the same question.
Yes, there are, like, I'm really not the right person to answer. That's why we have our experts on that. But since recently we had a client just asking the same, actually. I only know some of it, but we have these contracts, AFA, Auftragsverarbeitungsvereinbarung or something, a very difficult German name, but simply stating that there's no personal sensitive data that we are transferring and whatever, and there's like it's all documented. There is specific contracts regulating that. So I know that we are settled, but I'm not the one to mention the details because I'm no GDPR guy, unfortunately.
Yeah. So how do you ensure effective communication between teams in Germany and Cameroon despite the distance and time zone difference?
That's no issue, actually. That's really no issue. We, I think it's that must be said. I think it's of great benefit that we all know, or most of us know each other personally as well.
Yeah.
Right. So we went there. We went to Cameroon. We had our Christmas party with everyone, and we really got to know each other. So that's a huge benefit. But otherwise, we are simply having our Slack channels, right, concerning all topics, all projects, all teams. We're having our weeklies. We're having our dailies. We're having our management bi-weeklies, right? So we're talking within the C-level with the team leads as well. Then team leads are talking with the teams, and then we're having an agile approach of project management, of course, and thereby we have a lot of autonomous teams working individually on the projects, and then we have reports that we look into, and then of course we always have one-on-ones, like everyone is talking to everyone as well. But that's actually going quite well, and of course web meetings in the end on a daily basis, of course.
Great. That's cool, because sometimes people say, you have internet, maybe you have this problem, electricity, internet.
It is an issue. It is an issue. We face that issue, and especially that's definitely an issue when it comes to meeting deadlines in a project, and then you have issues of electricity. But then now we talk to people that have generators, right? Then we know places where to go to with a generator, and sometimes that's just the nature, right? I mean, we are here to develop also infrastructures in long term, so that's one of our goals, to solve this issue. But on short notice, you just have to manage it.
Yeah, cool. What advantages and disadvantages have you encountered in outsourcing development markets to Cameroon? Maybe if you can just cite maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Right.
Advantages and disadvantages.
So advantage, I would certainly say you have a lot of ambitions.
Okay.
So people are very ambitious because they see an opportunity. They really like to prove themselves. We also very often have very highly skilled people, right? Even though we are talking to a lot of graduates that just come out of uni, you have a lot of very highly skilled people. We used TripleByte in the past for assessments, and some people ranked level 1 level 4 React developer, right? So like top level React developer, one of the 2 or 3% of the world. So due to this high ambition, I think we also have crazy skill levels. On the one hand, that's a huge advantage.
Because about that, some generally people don't trust companies here. They don't trust. They say, if I externalize something in Africa, I'm not sure people are skilled enough to work on my project. But at the same time, many of those companies who are aware of that are always recruiting from Africa. And maybe it's not the case of Germany, I don't know, but France, for example, you have UK, for example, who always recruit people there, because you have a lot of people there who are very skilled, and sometimes also salary.
Totally.
Yeah, salary. What about salary? Do you see it as an advantage to outsource maybe project?
I mean, definitely it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So if you look at the average income, right? So if I would get the average income a Cameroonian would receive, I would be able to sustain not even food for a month in Germany, right? So you have a huge pay gap, of course, still. At the same time, we are paying 3 times as much as average already, minimum. On the one hand, that's a competitive advantage, of course, for us, because we can offer cheaper service on the one hand. But that's not what we like to take, or that's not what we favor, because right now we have to, we are still very young, we are still a startup, right? So we really have to start, ensure our existence, our existence, and sustain ourselves long term. So since we are only project financed, right, we don't have investors, etc. yet, so we only live from the project work. So one of our advantages in sales right now is, of course, offering cheaper services occasionally. At the same time, we want to close that pay gap, right? That's one of our goals, to close the pay gap and to provide fair contracting as well. If we mediate people for other jobs, for example, but definitely that's a thing for sure. But now when we are looking at the case of Cameroonians coming to Germany, then we are looking at same salaries, of course, right? So we are talking now we're having the first cases of our of a few team leads that we are looking at doing a study in Germany for a master's, or even doing an expert program here, maybe even setting up, building up our office over here if they like to come, right? You don't have to, you're just offered as well to gain experience. Then of course you're receiving same salary because you need to sustain yourself here. The other way around, like one of my goals is actually living in Cameroon for a few months, a year actually, on a regular base. We don't have apartments yet, but we like to look into that. The other way around, I wouldn't need as much salary as I have in Cameroon, because the money. So and then I can also be good to my company, right? Because I don't need the German salary when living in Cameroon, because we lived already.
Even if you have the same salary, you can save enough.
You can save enough. You can save so much. It's crazy. The difference is crazy. Also, the money. That's the point in the end, right? The money you need to sustain yourself in Cameroon is far different than the money you need to sustain yourself in here. It's huge, the gap that you have, unfortunately, and we're looking forward to close that. But
But now, do you have any disadvantage? I don't know.
Sometimes it's this. Like I said, the functionality. We have a few. The functionality is one thing that we looked at, but we are managing. Well, how shall I say? All disadvantages that cannot really think of disadvantages, because a lot of times I think it's just more development that's needed for the individual. Because I think, since we are looking only at talents, or mostly at talents, you cannot expect senior level of skills, right? So, of course, there are disadvantages of some people are not skilled enough occasionally, but then we are enabling. So I wouldn't call it a disadvantage. I would just call it a matter of the case, which is why we're doing enablement, right? But disadvantages as of now, I don't see. Of course, the regulations, the banks, all this formalities that don't work out because the countries are not collaborating well. Of course, that's a huge disadvantage. And that makes life really tough.
That's helped me jump on the second question. That's the language barriers.
Not at all. None.
None. Just English.
We just speak English. It works out totally fine.
Definitely.
We even have German-speaking people. We have one C1 level speaking German. A product owner who did a presentation in German with a client, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's a unicorn! That's dope! People don't believe. It's funny enough, right? But our clients, they were amazed.
Because Cameroon, we study German in high school, for 2-3 years. So even me, I studied German. It's just
nice.
So much time that speaking German. So
hallo, wie geht's?
Danke. Exactly. So, what skills or qualifications do you look for in talent in Cameroon to ensure the quality of outsourced work? So today, if you want to recruit a talent, what do you look for? First,
always depends. Always depends. So we have an assessment pipeline. in the end, of course, when you have like a technical assessment, so when you want to like do, I don't know, data science or whatever, and you have a technical assessment, then you must score a certain level ideally for employment, right? But we differentiate also between employment for people that we actually hire and staff projects and our community. So everybody can sign up and use our training resources and everything for free, and for free. So we have a learn management system. Our trainings can be used for talents, right? Everybody can use it for free to simply gain knowledge and skill up yourself. But otherwise, sorry, I missed the question again.
The question was, what do you look for?
Exactly.
When you want to...
Well, I think just ambitions.
Ambitions.
Okay. Ambitions, truthful ambitions.
How do you measure that?
Well, you can. I think you can tell by. I think you can always tell by speaking to people.
Okay.
Right, because we have spoken to people that like to do a job and that only did the job and then they chilled, and sometimes they didn't even do the job. Right, that's shitty. But then we also speak to people where we see, wow, like he or she, like there's huge ambition. She's taking it really serious, or he's taking it really serious. They're really embracing, and yeah.
Did you have some case where you put the guys out because maybe it's not?
We had to lay off people, of course. We had to lay off people. Yes, definitely.
A lot.
Well, depends. I think in the nature of having a business, it's always the nature of the thing that you hire people and that you leave people. Right. Exactly, that's just the nature of the thing. And in the very beginning, we hired a lot of people because we needed people also to work projects with. And then over time, because of course we couldn't really know everybody for real in the beginning, so over time we realized, okay, you are probably not even working every day. You are working every day and even beyond. So over time we knew, okay, who are the ones we can rely on concerning our projects and who can we trust, and who are the ones that are eventually like taking only opportunity and not doing actually what they're supposed to ask for. So of course we had to lay off people as well. And I guess that's the nature of every business.
It's the nature.
But we also, and that must be said, we don't just lay off anyone, or well, the people I talk to, I like to have a personal talk. I like to ensure it's understood. We really care about the human in the end, right? Exactly. We don't think of it as labor force or as like whatever. In the end, like we are all human. We are also, I'm a talent myself, right? We are all young, we are all in the beginning of our careers. Like I think it's really important if something is not working out, to ensure like why is it, and also offer alternatives as well. So there's always the opportunity to stay in the community, to use the trainings, to get back to us if you want to do a project or whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah.
To resume, the talent must show, the ambition must show that he's really interested about the opportunity and the work also.
Like everywhere. Everywhere. Like if you, I mean, that's, in German there's a saying, da trennt sich die Spreu vom Weizen, meaning like, this is where you realize where there's chance and where there's just, no, how shall I put it? Gosh, I don't know how to conclude. But that's actually the case. I'm saying, it's independent of country, it's independent of circumstance in the end, right? Either you put in ambition or you don't. I think opportunities, of course, they are a thing, and status quo and the situation that you're coming from is always a thing, definitely. But if you have ambitions, you have ambitions, and if you don't have them, and I think that's making the difference. We can
definitely see it.
And then that's making the difference, I think.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. I think my question are finished. Thank you, Leo, for participating to this podcast for my YouTube channel. I think we have a lot to say, but the goal was not to speak about everything here. I think I'm very, very, very happy to meet you today. If you have a talent who want to contact you, how they can proceed?
Camsoil.io. LinkedIn,
simple.
Instagram, Google. That's also the URL, camsoil.io.
Okay.
CAMSOL. Easy as that. .io.
Cool.
And then we're very happy to talk.
Cool. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Appreciate it.